What's up, guys? Welcome back. For those of you who have not seen one of my videos before, my name is Jordan Lavanino. My friends call me J-Lav, and I am a freelance videographer, director, editor, DP in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm here in my shed turned videography studio / office. And if you guys want to know more about that, I'll link a video to that somewhere there. I forgot where it goes up. YouTube's kind of new to me, if you can't tell, because I've only made like a handful of videos. So bear with me on learning all this stuff. But yeah, go check out that video. I kind of go more in depth as to what this space looks like, my thought behind it, all that sort of thing. So go check that out, leave a comment. But today I wanted to talk about something that not a lot of people really talk about, at least here on YouTube. One of the hardest things about being a freelancer isn't necessarily finding the work, but it's deciding what work to take on. Because if you say yes to everything, then you burn out, and if you say no to too many things, then the work stops coming in. Over time, I realized that every job worth taking on falls into these three main criteria. And if it hits at least one, I usually say yes. And if you stay to the very end of the video, I'll share with you a quick story that kind of encompasses all three criteria and involves me working for a pretty prominent country artist. So this first one is probably the most obvious, but criteria number one is profit. So money is what makes the world go around, right? Freelancers, we're our own business, we're our own company. We have to make a certain amount of income because we have overhead, we might have families like me, we might have dogs that snore while you're trying to film. It all takes money. You have to make money, you have to think about money. You can't get trapped in such an idealistic world that I'm just gonna take passion projects and that's it. Unfortunately, most of us don't have that privilege. So we have to think about money, and profit isn't necessarily a big number. Profit might be a good rate for the amount of time that it takes or the difficulty of the particular job. I work a lot of relatively small jobs here in town, and I feel like I pick a lot of these smaller jobs up that a lot of people pass because it's a low budget or a low rate for that particular role. But the way that I look at it is, if I can make $600 for filming for 2 hours and then handing over the footage, that's $600 for 2 hours of work, maybe 2.5, 3 hours with travel time. But that's really easy. It's a really light thing, especially when you have a day that is, you know, pretty slow or nothing on your books, or I can kind of squeeze that in. $600 beats $0 when you're just sitting at home. So that's definitely been something that I've learned, and I've realized that I need to not be so ashamed at the fact that I take these small jobs, because these small jobs add up. But also on the flip side of that, if there's a job that just has a big number attached to it, you're not necessarily passionate about it, it's not necessarily anything that you're going to put on your portfolio or your website or even post on social media, but it pays pretty well, that's something that you should take. But money isn't the only reason to say yes, and that brings me to criteria number two, and that is portfolio. Now, these aren't the types of jobs that are necessarily going to pay you well, but they're going to be valuable because of what they become later. Whether it's cinematic shots, cool locations, working with a prominent brand, or even trying out new pieces of gear or new techniques. These are all great things to have on your resume. We all know that your portfolio attracts the next job. So sometimes this project might really be an investment into the next 5 projects for you. Now you might be saying, J-Lav, there's more to this industry than just money or pumping up your own portfolio. And that brings me to criteria number 3, which is passion. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, but this is just any job that resonates with you creatively or personally. This is the type of job where you don't even think about your rate, or if you're even gonna have a rate for this, or even if this is something that you're gonna put on your website or post about on social media. This could just be anything that you are excited about. These are the types of jobs that you say yes to simply because it reminds you why you started doing this in the first place. This could be for a nonprofit, your church, your buddy's brand he's trying to get off the ground, or like we get a lot here in Nashville, an up and coming artist who just has a cool song and you'd love to be, helping them start off their journey. This is gonna be the type of thing that you feel more than you can calculate. Now, one of my goals is to be able to take on as many of this third criteria project as possible, but it's only possible if I've been really diligent and really responsible with all my other projects throughout the year. And the amount of these projects has become a real barometer of success for me because it helps me feel less burnt out, less just like a piece of software or another cog in the wheel. And I know we've all felt like that. We want to feel like individuals. We want to feel like we're charting our own path and helping, pull people with us and using this awesome skill that we've refined, which is filmmaking, using images that are compelling, storytelling, bringing a voice to people and to brands that don't have the money for it, but something that you believe in personally. And it's so fulfilling and so exciting to be a part of sharing someone's story just because you want to. So not to trigger all you conspiracy theorists out there, but I think about it like a pyramid. You have jobs on this pyramid that are high money, but low passion. Or maybe it's high passion and great on your portfolio. Maybe it's even great on your portfolio and a really decent rate. To quote the great Smokey the Bear, only you can prevent forest fires, and only you can figure out where your jobs land on this decision triangle. Let's say you have no projects on your books and something comes across that's low pay, not great for your portfolio, and you're not really passionate about it. I think maybe there's a world where you still say no to this project. And something that is gonna check one of these boxes is right around the corner. I can't tell you how many times I've said no to a job on a particular set of dates and been really scared because now I have those dates open and am I gonna make money? Every time I say that, within 3 days or so, I get hit up on those exact same dates for a job that is way more fitting for my criteria. And that's just one of the exciting aspects of the unpredictability of the freelance world. Now, at the beginning of the video, I hinted at a personal story of mine, and I had gotten hit up by a photographer buddy of mine, David, who asked me if I could film this truck that's being wrapped for a tour for this artist, Keith Urban. Now, Keith Urban, being, a former musician, he is, top 3 guitar players of all time for me. Fight me on that. He's incredible. And his team was getting everything ready for this tour that he was about to go on. And you guys have all seen the big semis that are wrapped with the artist's face on the side of the semi truck that says the name and all the graphics. It looks super, super cool. Well, the job was for me to go to this warehouse and film these guys wrapping this truck. That was it. It had nothing to do with music, nothing to do with the actual tour. It was a local job. It was gonna take 45 minutes and I was gonna have to stand in this really hot warehouse, and it looked exactly how you would imagine. It did not look great, but I just was there filming these guys wrap a truck. That was it. This is not something that was going on my portfolio. This is not something that I got paid really, really well for. I literally just said yes to it because it was connected to a guitar player that I loved. So I filmed, edited it, and admittedly I put a little bit more juice into it than I think that this really called for. But Keith's main videographer was super impressed, and he gave me a call the next day and was like, dude, thank you so much. You crushed this. We started to get to talking, and surprise, surprise, we knew a few of the same people in the music industry. Just being in Nashville, it's kind of a small town vibe. And he heard that I had a lot of touring experience, and touring is something that is kind of its own skill set. And so he asked me, he said, hey, if any dates come up, would you be willing to come out and be my second shooter? And I said, yeah, of course, I would love to do that. So about 2 weeks later, he hit me up and said there was a weekend that was available and they would love for me to come out. And so I did it. And it was awesome. It was so sick. I even had some mutual friends with some of the guys in the band, so me and the band guys hit it off, me and the crew guys hit it off. It was just such a great experience. And it was kind of intimidating because I was hopping onto this tour that had already started with people that already knew each other, and I was this new guy that just was walking in without knowing a single soul. So that weekend wrapped up, it was great. I handed off all my footage, handed off all my selects. Never expected to hear from him again. I was like, that was a one and done, amazing experience, moving on. Well, the following week, he hits me back up and says, hey, we have another string of dates. Are you available to come out? So I said yes again. And then it happened again. And then it happened again. And then it got to a point where one of Keith's assistants hit me up with all of Keith's dates for the rest of the year and said, hey, these are all of his dates. We'd love for you to come to as many as you can. Why don't you highlight the ones that you could come out to, and we'll fill in the other dates. So that was how it kind of started. And it kind of went like that for a little over 2 years, where I got to regularly, consistently go out with Keith and his team. And it was such a cool season because I was able to tour with an artist that I'd been a fan of for decades and get to hang out with his sick crew. Everybody on that team was so amazing. But then on the flip side of that too, when I was home, I was able to continue to grow and further my network, in my freelance career. So it was such a cool season. This one job, filming, a truck getting wrapped, turned into a job that paid pretty well, was something that I was definitely gonna put on my portfolio, and was something that I was super, super passionate about. All because I took a job that was just in a dusty warehouse that I think 5 other photographers turned down. I was the 6th person that they called, and it turned into this. So you never know where these jobs are gonna take you, or who you're gonna meet, or how things are gonna develop. I would just say that when you're looking at it in terms of building your freelance career, it's not necessarily about just finding work, it's about finding the right work. Because the longer you're in this freelance world, the more you realize that the jobs you say no to are just as important as the jobs you say yes to. So the next opportunity you get to take on a job, try to figure out where it lands between profit, portfolio, and passion, and start taking on the work that you want to be known for. I hope this has helped and has brought a little bit more clarity into this sometimes confusing process. So if it has, please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.